Okay, here is the answers to your quiz, 9.1 through 9.3. All right, so let's go with the first one. The vector with the initial point, P 3, 2, and Q endpoint, 8, 9. So the vector from P to Q would be 8 minus 3 and 9 minus 2, which gives me 5, 7. Again, these are vector symbols. Get into the vector form of doing this. All right, so that's number one. All right, number two is just doing normal computation. 2u plus v if vector u is 2, 7, and vector v is 3, 1. So what you do there is 2 times u would be 4, 14. And plus vector v, 3, 1, would give us 7, 15. All right, and now number 3. Find the horizontal and vertical components of the vector and direction. So the horizontal component is the vector times the cosine of theta, and the vertical component is the magnitude of the vector times the sine of theta. Okay, they gave you the vector, the magnitude of the vector is 40, and the cosine of 30 degrees. They gave you 30 degrees for the theta. All right, so 40 and sine of 30. Then you just figure that out. Cosine at 30 degrees is going to be the square root of 3 over 2, which gives us 20 square root of 3, which many of you have put in as 34.64. And the sine at 30 is 1/2, which is 20. All right, so those are your components, and then it says, let's see, find the horizontal and vertical components of the vector and direction. Okay, so you could write it with your vector forms, or you could write it like this, 20 square root of 3i plus 20j. Would have been fine. I took a wide range of answers. As long as you had the right numbers and values, I took that. All right, number 4. Number 4 is the magnitude of u. Okay, magnitude. If u is 2, 7, we find magnitude as 2 squared plus 7 squared. Magnitude means direction. A squared plus b squared. And then you take the square root. So square root of 4 plus 49, which is the square root of 53, which is approximately 7.28, which I'm very thankful. I think everybody wrote the square root of 53, which is great. That's exact. 7.28 is rounded. All right, number 5. Find the direction in degrees of the vector 3, 4. Well, direction is your degrees, so that's y over x. Tangent of theta would be 4 over 3. So theta is the arctangent of 4/3, which gives us 53 degrees. All right, so then we look at number 6. Let me move all this up. Number 6 is the dot product. So we're going to use these vectors. U is 2, 7, and v is 3, 1. So the dot product is going to give me one number. It's the multiplication of the two together. So we multiply 2 times 3 and add 7 times 1. 6 plus 7, that's 13. 13 is the dot product. Number 7, use those same vectors. Find the angle between the two vectors. So the cosine of theta is equal to the dot product over the magnitudes of these two vectors. The magnitude of 2, 7 was 4, and 49 would be square root of 53. We just did that on the previous page. And the magnitude of v is 9 and 1. 3 squared plus 1 squared, that's 10. That's the square root of 10. And then you take the arc cosine of that value. Or if you figured out what those were on your calculator, 23.02, I think is the bottom, square root of 530. And then you do the arc cosine to get theta by itself, and that's 55.6 on your calculator. Make sure you are in degree mode when you do that. All right, and then number 8, are the vectors u and v orthogonal? And the answer is no. The dot product is not 0. So the answer is no for that because the dot product is 13. Okay, and number 9 says the component of u along v. So the dot product of u and v over the magnitude of v. All right, the dot product is 13. The magnitude of v is the square root of 3 squared plus 1 squared, or the square root of 10. All right, so 3 to the square root of 10, you could have written it as 13 square root of 10 over 10 because you've been taught to do that. Or you could have just rounded it, 4.11. Most of you left it as 13 to the square root of 10. Again, I think you guys are starting to realize that you got to know your audience. Who are you giving the answers to? Most people just want the 4.11. But if you're dealing with exactness, you know you got to leave it in radical form. Okay, so now we move up a little bit more. And number 10 is find the projection of u along v. And vector u is 7, negative 4. And vector v is 2, 1. And so here's how we do this. We do the dot product of u and v over the magnitude of v squared times v. Many of you forgot to multiply by v or just didn't do it right. So the dot product of u and v, if you multiply u and v together, you get 14 plus a negative 4. Okay, that's the top, u dot v. That's going to give you something here in a minute. And then the magnitude of v is the square root of 2 squared plus 1 squared. And then you got to square that. All right, and then we're going to multiply that by the vector 2, 1. All right, so 14 plus negative 4 is 10. We square square root, the square root goes away. 2 squared is 4, 1 squared is 1, 4 plus 1 is 5. So that is the value of 2 times the vector 2, 1, which means you have 4, 2 as your answer. That's the projection of u along v. Then we get to number 11. Find the distance between these values, p, negative 2, negative 1, 0, and q, negative 12, 3, and 0. All right, so to find the distance, you subtract them and square them. So just like the normal distance formula, negative 2 minus a negative 12, you got to square that. Plus negative 1 minus 3, square those middle ones. And then the last one's 0 minus 0, and square that. So the zeros are gone. Negative 2 plus 12 is 10. 10 squared is 100. Don't forget the radical. Negative 1 plus the negative 3 is negative 4. Negative 4 squared is 16. The square root is 116. I took as an answer, but really it's 2 squared of 29. 58 times 2. Okay. Let's see here. And that's approximately 10.8. And then the last problem. Oops. Last problem, number 12. Give the equation of the sphere. All right, so really all I needed was x minus 2 squared plus y plus 5 squared. Remember, it's the opposite signs, plus z minus 3 squared, and equals the radius squared. 5 squared is 25. That's all I really needed. Some of you went ahead and filled this out, which is great. You did a great job going ahead and squaring all those and simplifying it from there. But I took this as the answer. I just wanted to know if you could set it up right. And then here's a surprise. I only counted 10 problems. So if you ended up getting anything less than 20, then you really missed more than 2. So many of you got 20. I didn't give anything extra. I just counted, I took 2 off from what you missed and went from there. All right. Congratulations. Have a great spring break. Miss everybody. Talk to you later.